Well, guys, whoever thought that comic book characters and comic book movies and TV can cause so much ugliness among us as a community, but it has happened again today, and we are going to address it, folks. This time in regards to Netflix Marvel characters from the Netflix show being Marvel canon. And as this article right here states, Marvel confirms Netflix characters are MCU canon. No, they haven't. Folks, before we get into it, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the links in the description below as well. But let's just get right into this. First and foremost, folks, we need to take a step back. We need to calm down, and we really need to grow up and act our age, because we have to remember this is just comic books. It's just movies. It's just TV. It's just entertainment. None of this should make us become so ugly that we're literally fighting over this stuff between each other, or acting like this certain individual right here who wants to sit behind a screen and act like they're turf banging over the stuff. It's absolutely mind-boggling how people get. Look, at the end of this video, you're going to realize too, folks, that we can have different opinions on things, okay? We can, but let's look at facts. This article right here is wrong, and it's trending right now, not only on this site, InsideTheMagic.net, but on reputable sources as well, like ComicBookcom. And I'm not very happy with how ComicBook.com is approaching this, because I feel it's very clickbait-ish, and I feel them, as being a reputable source, they're not handling this appropriately. But over the last 24 hours, fans are taking to social media and they are talking about, it's official now. Marvel's made it official. The reason why they're taking to this is because the Marvel.com database for the character Daredevil recently updated their on-screen full report right here, and they do this with characters, and they bring in MCU context, or for certain characters like Daredevil, what we saw from them in the Netflix show in their own series. And if you look right here, all of this context is descriptive of what was happening in the Daredevil show on Netflix. Now, they recently changed this, and ComicBook.com speaks of it right here. Daredevil fans use Marvel's official website as evidence series is indeed canon. And it talks about the fact that, and we'll read through it right here. We'll read this a little bit. It states, the continuity of the television shows produced by the now defunct Marvel Television has been at the root of one debate after the next in recent years. In fact, those arguments will likely last until officials with Marvel Studios declare the likes of Daredevil and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to be set in the same continuity as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes. Now, fans of the former are using the official Marvel website as evidence of the canonicity regarding Daredevil. On Marvel.com's encyclopedia listing for the character Daredevil, there's an exhaustive listing of Matt Murdock's, Charlie Cox, life during the events of the Daredevil television show. Not only that, but the same listing then tags on Murdock's whereabouts during Spider-Man No Way Home as well, as if that very same character appeared in both the series and the film. Now, folks, this is what it's talking about, but you can see here, where it ends with the show. The No Way Home information has now been removed, and Comic Book came back out saying this: Marvel reverses course on Daredevil continuity. It is no longer there. So, you get this added on Marvel.com. You get websites talking about it, saying, yep, fans are stating it, that they're using this as a way to confirm it. And then you have websites that lack credibility coming out with this clickbait taglines: Marvel confirms Netflix characters are MCU canon. No, they haven't. That is a fact. Regardless of if you believe they are or not, that is a fact. They have not confirmed anything. Now, let's talk about why this is not a fact. First off, you have to understand what confirmation means, okay? Confirmation is used way too much in media outlets. Too loosely. We have not had a confirmation from Marvel, because Marvel is from a direct source from Marvel stating such. Having a biography where there's something about No Way Home and a Netflix television show still doesn't confirm. It's not an official confirmation. Now that they removed the No Way Home context, that makes this even more questionable. But let's go back to Kevin Feige, folks. It all boils down to Kevin Feige and the Marvel Studios executives. It is what they believe and what they believe only. Let's talk about a little bit of history before we talk about Kevin Feige. It is known that when Marvel Studios was developing the MCU, Marvel Television was a separate entity that Feige had no control over. Jeff Loeb controlled Marvel Television, and it was known that they butt heads on where they wanted these characters to go. Loeb wanted to bring the characters from the films at that point leading into the Avengers over into the television side, Marvel Television, housed by ABC. And that's what birthed the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. But Feige had no hand in that. And he ultimately wanted to do his own things. When the Netflix shows came about, it was the same thing. It was the same issue. And although Feige is often very kind of cryptic, there were interviews that made it clear that these were not Feige's plans. Now, when Marvel Television went under, Feige, again, maybe cryptically, made it clear that he was taking the MCU in its own direction. We do know this is a fact, folks. Marvel Television was setting up all of those TV shows with those characters to at least softly be MCU canon. We know that. Why? Well, obviously, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was about Coulson, who came straight from the movies. Okay? You had Maria Hill showing up in a few episodes. You had Samuel L. Jackson show up in one episode as Nick Fury. All right? Those were the closely linked. But then we dive into the Netflix shows. If you look back at the Netflix shows, although they stated the Battle of New York, they talked about a shield, they talked about a magical hammer, or I think they talked about a Green Man as well. They never stated the Avengers. They never stated Captain America, Iron Man. They never stated their names. And that, from the evidence that we have publicly, was because of the rift between Marvel Television and Marvel Studios, aka Kevin Feige. And I do believe they worked out to the best way that they could a relationship that softly connected them as canon, but yet separated them just enough to make sure that the brand was still seen as separate, because Kevin Feige didn't want all of that stuff to be branded as the MCU, as Marvel Studios MCU. Now, let's go into this article right here where Kevin Feige stated, this is going back over 2 years ago now, where Kevin Feige stated that the Disney Plus shows will be the first time ever that the TV shows have interlinked with the MCU. Now, people could take this and read into it and say, well, they're just saying the first time, the characters are interlocking, because we never saw any cameos appear in the Netflix shows. Well, we absolutely saw them in S.H.I.E.L.D. So what does that mean to that? It means exactly what Kevin Feige's saying. He's stating, without exactly stating it, that he does not see S.H.I.E.L.D. or any Marvel television TV show as MCU canon. Regardless of what it wanted to be or what it was because of legalities back then, Kevin Feige, now at this point in time, in 2019, finally had control over everything and said, I'm doing it my way from this moment forward. I don't care what came before. We're going to pull up some more evidence, because there's this whole idea that, oh, well, it's Kingpin, it's Vincent D'Onofrio, it's Charlie Cox in No Way Home, it's the same characters, it's canon, it means those are canon. Oh, look, the Netflix shows are now streaming on Disney Plus. It must mean it's canon. No. Let's read this right here. Kevin Feige made the decision to bring Kingpin into the MCU. Let's read what this says. Still, everyone was a little shocked and surprised at this idea. Was it possible to get Vincent D'Onofrio to join in? When Feige is overseeing things, anything's possible. Kevin threw out the idea that what if this could be Kingpin when they were talking about who's the big villain that can show up in the Hawkeye show. Winterbaum remembered, quote, and I think all of our jaws just kind of dropped, our Zoom meetings, and we're kind of like, wait, you're joking, right? This can't be serious. Are you serious? This is. You really think that there's a chance that we can actually get Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Kingpin and Daredevil in the series, as a cameo for a couple of scenes? Like, he is our big boss? And Kevin made a call to Vincent. Right here, folks. Ultimately, D'Onofrio was more than down to get involved. Quote, he said, I want to bring you into the MCU. Unquote. Kevin Feige said to Vincent D'Onofrio, I want to bring you into the MCU. Right there, again, states Kevin Feige is the head of Marvel Studios. And the big dog now at Marvel is stating that he does not see the Netflix TV shows as MCU canon, regardless of what you all want to think, regardless of what happened before. So let me break it down like this, folks. It's, again, I'm not sitting here stating that these TV shows weren't set up to, at least in some way, seem like they wanted to connect as canon, because they did. But that was Marvel Television. Kevin Feige had no say. He had his hands tied. It's just like in comic books, how things can be redacted, or how things can be rebooted, or what's the word that we all use? Retconned, right? Kevin Feige got control of everything and said, this is a retcon because I say it is. And guys, it's as simple as that. Now, what I think is going to happen moving forward is this. I think that at some point in time, either Kevin Feige himself or some executive with Marvel Studios is going to make an announcement stating that, yes, the Marvel Television stuff is a different dimension of the multiverse. Because why? Because it's so easy to do that. We already see that happen with the Sonyverse. The Sonyverse exists in the MCU, but it's a different reality. I think they're going to do the same thing with Marvel Television, Netflix stuff, and they might be doing the same thing with the Fox stuff because we have confirmation that Charles Xavier is in Multiverse of Madness. Obviously, we don't have confirmation that he's playing Professor X, but with the Illuminati being there, obviously we put two and two together, and that's most likely what's going to happen. Is it the same iteration of Professor X that we saw in the Fox films? We don't know, but that's obviously a possibility. So, when it comes to how we treat each other and how we handle this situation, folks, don't be like this individual. Don't let this stuff make you act so immature and childish. First off, look at the facts, no matter how it makes you feel, no matter what you want to believe. Because at the end of the day, this is all fictional storytelling. If it makes you feel better that the Daredevil that you saw, or the Matt Murdock that you saw in No Way Home, if it makes you feel better that that's Matt Murdock, the same Matt Murdock that you saw for 3 series on that Netflix show, maybe what transpired at the end of season 3, maybe now it's a couple years later and he's showing up representing Peter Parker. If it makes you feel better to believe that, fine. But just know that it's not fact. It's just your belief because it makes you feel better. If you want to believe that the Kingpin that we see in Hawkeye is the same Kingpin that we saw at the end of season 3 Daredevil, which would make no sense. It would make no sense because if I recall, I do believe Daredevil went down at the end of season 3 Daredevil, or that Kingpin went down at the end of Daredevil season 3. Somebody refresh my memory in the comments. But if it makes you feel better, fine. But I'm telling you right now, because it's been in conversations with other Marvel executives and Kevin Feige as well, they're clearly pointing to these characters being different iterations. Same comic book characters played by the same actors, but different iterations. Folks, just don't lie to yourselves. Don't go pulling up clickbait articles and reading a headline and believing it, sharing it on social media and believing it. You have to do your own research. First off, read the articles. I'm disappointed how ComicBookcom ran with this and made it clickbaitish. So you got to read the articles, but you got to also question the sources that they're coming from and go back and do your research and look at the facts. Nobody has confirmed the Netflix characters to be MCU canon, period. That is a fact. And until Kevin Feige or anyone from Marvel Studios states otherwise, it's going to remain a fact. Folks, that's the video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, leave your thoughts and comments below. Be respectful. Be kind. This is fun stuff, guys. This shouldn't be so, it shouldn't let us, become angry and filled with so much violent hate. But hey, social media does that sometimes, right? Thank you all for watching. Be well. And until next time.